Hello, friends. Today I wanted to share another Ducks That I Love video. And this one's going to focus more on magical workings, altar work, things of that nature. Since I know for a lot of people out there, they may only have one deck and they kind of do it for everything. But since I have a very large collection and I have been using decks for like the last 25 years, I have kind of figured out what decks I like to use for certain things. Decks that I just have in my collection because they're beautiful, decks that like are active working decks that I utilize with clients, decks that I use specifically for myself. And you may see some of these decks kind of in other videos as well. But I'm going to talk about why I have selected these particular decks to kind of focus on these sort of workings that I'm currently really dedicating a lot more time to. So, as you can see, there's a little bit of everything, and I'm going to explain why I use certain decks and what they, in essence, like why I use them, why I've chosen them, and why I use them exclusively for certain things. So, as you may have noticed, there's some here that I have used in other videos, and one in particular is going to be the Relative Tarot. I actually posted a deck review on this not too long ago because it has become such a beautiful part of my personal tarot practice, especially when it comes to my ancestral kind of work. So this is my ancestral grimoire that I have kind of created for myself and for my practice. And so I just have been exclusively using this deck by Carrie Paris for that reason. There's some of my ancestors, and it's been such a really awesome thing for myself to kind of utilize and kind of use the prompts from. I'm going to bring two tarot books actually. I should have brought them over here. The Ancestral Tarot book by Nancy Hendrickson, and also the Ancestral Grimoire book by Nancy Hendrickson as well. So both of these books are actually what I've been using in tandem with this Relative Tarot to create my Ancestral Grimoire. And I have really connected very deeply to this deck. And so I love using it for my own personal readings. I love utilizing it for my own kind of tarot practice when it comes to like 30-day tarot challenges that I post on my more spiritual like journey page, which is just Astrology Angel Medium. Astrology Angel Mediums is like my main page, but on Instagram, but I use Astrology Angel Medium as my personal reflective page and things like that. So, using this deck has been fantastic because it has allowed me to kind of connect with the imagery, as I've talked about in the deck review that I did of it. I love the images here. I love that there's a little bit of everybody kind of shown in the cards. So it isn't just like one. God, most of these are upside down. It isn't just one sort of thing. Like, you know, people are not a monolith. And so as someone that has a very varied background, and I belong to a lot of different ethnicities and things like that, and culturally I was raised Mexican, to me it's nice to have kind of that ancestral connection to a deck. And it's just beautiful. I really love it. This and the Beloved Dead deck are also, they work well together, but I have not used the Beloved Dead as much as I would have loved to. I hope in the future that I become a little bit more comfortable in using it, but this is one of the decks that I really love for my ancestral practices and my connection to my ancestors. So moving on, for those of you that may have noticed, I am a Santa Muerte devotee. So I do have a few decks that I like to utilize for my Santa Muerte altar. And one of them is the Santa Muerte Oracle deck by, this is like so faded, by Fabio Listrani. Now my deck is a little warped and messed up just because I've gotten water on it accidentally. But this is a deck that I use in tandem with, I also have the Santa Muerte Tarot, which I actually have that in my purse. So I use that more for like my on the go readings as needed when I'm needing some clarity. So this deck is a little bit more in relation to some of the cultural, like folk magic connections of Santa Muerte in Mexican culture. So it's just nice to have an oracle deck that works in tandem with the Santa Muerte Tarot. But I also utilize the Baraja Bruja de la Niña Bonita by Veronica Ray. Now, I'll show you guys the cards in a minute, but this is essentially like a playing card deck, or if you have ever used the Baraja Española, which is like Mexican or Spanish playing cards, which a lot of people utilize for magical workings, especially in Spanish speaking countries or Latin America. So they use this deck versus a tarot deck typically for magical workings. Now I'm going to show you this actual deck because I don't even know what I did with the box. I've had this for so long. So this is the deck of the Baraja Bruja, and I do like it because it is very much in correlation with the like playing card meanings and also the Baraja Española meanings, and also even a little bit of like that crossover with tarot. So this is fun, especially if you are someone that speaks Spanish and wants to kind of lean more into Spanish speaking practices or Spanish workings. This is a great deck to kind of utilize. And I just pull a card every day just to kind of see what the energy will be. And then I pull an oracle card and I leave these up on my altar as a reminder to connect to Santa Muerte every morning. And it is something that I've been doing for the last like several years now. And it is a beautiful part of my practice. I'm just going to put these guys back on their altar where they belong. And so I think I ended up finding this on Amazon. I'm pretty sure. But I have seen cards like this at like flea markets and things like that. If that is something that is more local to you, it is fun to kind of have that connection. So moving right along, we have these other decks over here, right? So obviously, the Making Magic Oracle makes sense, right? Because if I'm talking about things that I can use for magic, this is a great deck that has sigils and has different things to kind of connect to. So I love using sigils in my magic. I love using like sigils in my grimoire or in my manifestation books and things like that, in my journaling. I just think it's fun to kind of create sigils. And so this is nice because if you're kind of struggling to create your own sigil, this is nice to kind of utilize these symbols to kind of connect to other elemental magic or other spells. So this is fun, and I just think it's a fun little deck. This is the Making Magic Oracle by Priestess Moon. So it is fun. Now, moving right along, I also work with Hecate and also Aphrodite. Sometimes I'll work with a deity like for a short period of time when I'm working through something or working on something. And so this Ancient Feminine Wisdom deck is fantastic because it has a lot of those goddesses and heroines from mythology, whether it's like Greek or Roman, or I think that this mostly focuses on Greek and Roman mythology. There is maybe some other ones in here, but I think for the most part, they are going to be mostly Greek and Roman mythological deities that you can work with. So I just think it's fun to have a physical representation because I'm not always going to like go buy a statue or whatever. So I'll just put their card as I'm working with that goddess. So on my current Hecate altar, I have the Hecate card in there. And then I also have Medea and Circe, which are said to be Hecate's daughters and also like the queen of witches, so to speak. So I just think it's very interesting. It's a very old deck. I've had it for years and years and years, and I never really used it. And then as I started kind of working more with like deities and different goddesses, I was like, this is good because then I have like that and I can kind of add that to a altar. So when I've made like an altar for Hestia, you know, or things like that, it's nice to just have that picture. Same thing with this moon oracle. This talks about the moon phases to guide your life. Now, this one's a little bit more of an interesting deck, and I've only really used it for using those cards. So if I'm working with like Athena or Artemis or Selene, I can kind of use those cards out of this deck because it has more than what this deck would have. But this is a very interesting deck. I haven't really learned to use it fully, completely the way that I think it was meant to be used. I think it's a little bit more complicated, and I just have never really taken out the time to use it. But it does have a lot of interesting information on each of the different moon phases. And then this has more goddesses besides just the traditional goddesses from Greek or Roman mythology. So we have like Kali, we have other goddesses in here. And then there's also other energies to kind of connect to if that is something that you're looking for and wanting to kind of call in to your life. So I think it's an interesting one. Again, I only use it for like those magical purposes more so than like a deck that I read with. And finally, I'm going to talk about the Mother Mary Oracle because I use this as I also have a deep connection to La Virgen de Guadalupe or Mother Mary. And it's just been such a long standing relationship in my life that this deck is also a beautiful representation of her lessons, her compassion, her story, just the myth, the mysticism and the myth surrounding Mother Mary and who she was. And so I love using this deck whenever I am trying to call forth more of that kind of Virgin Mother Mary energy back into my life. And so I just think it's a good one to have. This one's by Alana Fairchild as well. It's one of her older decks, I believe. So, I mean, I've had this one for years. So the imagery is very different from some of her newer stuff, but it does have a lot of this beautiful kind of energy and symmetry to me from like what I have learned about Mother Mary and her story and who she was. And so as a mother myself, I think it's a beautiful deck to utilize when I need some of that like remothering for myself. So it is a beautiful deck. So these are just a few of the decks that I like to use and how I use them for some of my magical workings. Obviously, there is always going to be exceptions where maybe I'll use something temporarily for certain things. So like the Seasons of the Witch decks are great for the year of the wheel of the year. I can't even talk today. So that's always fun to utilize, just kind of tuning into that energy as the seasons change and as we follow the wheel of the year. But let me know, do you guys have any particular decks that you utilize for your spiritual practices or for your magical workings? Do you have altars that you set up and use cards with? I just think it's a very interesting way of connecting and having that consistency in a much more tactile way. So let me know what you guys think. I just want to say thank you for watching my videos. As always, please take care, stay safe, and make good choices out there. Have a good one. Bye.